Captain Lee Daho stood on the bridge of the warship Indomitable Spirit. Through the large window in front of him, he could see the edge of their prison. A wall of blue energy stretched across space as far as anyone could see. This was the eternal blockade. For 300 years it had kept humanity trapped in their own solar system. Daho was a tall man with dark hair and tired eyes. He had seen too much war and too much death, but today he felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. "Captain, we are getting close to the barrier," said Commander Park Soo-jin from her station. She was his second in command and the smartest person he knew. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel as she checked their position. Soo-jin had short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She used to smile more. Back when they were together, that was before the war took everything from them. Now she was all business, but Daho could still see the fire in her eyes. "How are the engines, Kim?" Daho asked. Chief Engineer Kim Woo-bin looked up from his station. He was younger than the others, but his hands could fix anything. "Running smooth, Captain. The new design is holding up better than I thought it would." Woo-bin had grown up in the mines of Mars. His clothes were always dirty with oil and metal dust. He could make broken things work again with just spare parts and determination. Today, humanity needed that skill more than ever. "The barrier energy is getting stronger," said Lieutenant Han So-young from the navigation station. She was the youngest member of the crew, born during the blockade years. She had never seen the stars beyond their solar system, but she could read space better than anyone. So-young stared at her screens with complete focus. Her job was to guide them through space safely. One wrong move and they would all die. "Dr. Choi, is the weapon ready?" Daho asked. Dr. Choi Min-ho looked up from his scientific equipment. He was an older man with gray hair and thick glasses. "The quantum pulse device is charged, Captain. But I must warn you again. We have never tested this in real combat. The theory is sound, but theory and reality are different things." Choi had spent years studying the alien technology that powered the blockade. He believed he had found a weakness, but believing and knowing were not the same thing. The Indomitable Spirit was humanity's most advanced ship. It had been built in secret in the asteroid belt, far from alien eyes. Every piece of metal, every wire, every computer chip had been made by human hands using human ideas mixed with stolen alien technology. The ship looked different from the clean, smooth alien vessels. It was rough and practical. Woo-bin had welded armor plates over the weak spots. The weapons were a mix of human and alien designs that should not have worked together, but somehow did. "Captain, we are getting a signal," Soo-jin said. "It's from the Vorthon fleet." The main screen came to life. The face of Admiral Vextar appeared. He was a Vorthon, one of the aliens who ruled the galaxy. His skin was gray and his eyes were cold. He wore a uniform covered in medals and symbols of his rank. "Human vessel," Vextar said with a voice full of disgust. "You will stop your approach immediately and surrender. You are violating the terms of the containment agreement." Daho stepped forward. "Admiral Vextar, I am Captain Lee Daho of the Earth Defense Force. We reject your authority over human space." Vextar laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Human space? You have no space beyond this system. You are prisoners, and prisoners do not make demands." "We are not prisoners anymore," Daho said calmly. "Foolish creature," Vextar replied. "Do you know how many of your ships I have destroyed?" "Thousands." They all thought they could break the barrier. They all died screaming in the cold vacuum of space. Soo-jin's hands tightened on her controls. She had lost friends in those failed attempts. Good people who died trying to break humanity free. "This time will be different," Daho said. "No, it will not." Vextar's eyes grew colder. "The Eternal Blockade has stood for 3 centuries. It was built by races far more advanced than your primitive species. You cannot break what you cannot understand." "Maybe we don't need to understand it," Woo-bin said quietly. "Maybe we just need to break it." Vextar could not hear the engineer, but Daho smiled slightly at the comment. "Admiral, we are coming through," Daho said. "You can try to stop us or get out of our way." "Then you will die like all the others," Vextar said. "I almost feel sorry for you. You do not know what forces you are challenging." The transmission ended. The bridge was quiet for a moment. "Well, that went better than expected," So-young said. "He only threatened to kill us once." Despite everything, a few crew members smiled. Humor was one thing the aliens had never understood about humans. Even in the darkest times, humans could find something to laugh about. "Soo-jin, what do we know about their fleet positions?" Deho asked. 12 ships, she replied. Standard patrol formation. They are not expecting any real threat. Good. Wubin, how long until the stealth system fails? Maybe an hour, the engineer said. The alien parts we are using were not meant to work with our systems. I am holding it together with luck and spare wire. Dr. Choi, when do we fire the pulse? We need to get within 5,000 kilometers of the main generator, Choi said. Any further and the pulse will not have enough power to start the cascade reaction. 5,000 kilometers, Deho repeated. That means we have to get through their entire defense grid, Captain, Sujin said softly. The odds of success are very low. Deho looked at each member of his crew. These people had volunteered for a mission that would probably kill them. They had families and friends back on Earth, but they were here anyway. The odds have always been against us, he said. 300 years ago, the aliens thought we would give up and accept slavery. They were wrong then, and they are wrong now. He turned to face the barrier again. The blue energy wall looked solid and unbreakable. But Deho had learned something during his years of war. Everything that could be built could be broken. You just had to find the right way to hit it. Take us in, he ordered. Let's go make some history. The indomitable spirit moved forward into alien space. Behind them was Earth, humanity's birth world and prison. Ahead was the unknown freedom and very likely death. But they flew forward anyway because that was what humans did. They fought impossible odds and refused to give up, even when everyone said they should. The war for humanity's freedom had begun. Kim Woo-bin remembered the day his mother died. He was 12 years old working in the deep mines of Mars. The red dust got into everything, his clothes, his hair, his lungs. But that day the dust was mixed with something else. Blood. His mother, Dr. Kim Hee-jin, had been leading the workers in a protest. They wanted better food, cleaner air, and fair treatment. The Vorthan overseers said no. When the workers refused to go back to the mines, the aliens opened fire. Woo-bin found his mother's body near the main tunnel entrance. She was still holding a sign that said, "Workers are not slaves," in Korean letters. Her blood had soaked into the red dirt of Mars. That was 20 years ago. Now Woo-bin was the chief engineer on humanity's most important mission. His hands, which once dug in alien mines, now worked to free his people. The stealth field is holding, he reported to Captain Deho, but I can feel it wanting to break. The alien technology does not like working with our systems. Commander Park Soo-jin remembered her own childhood differently. She had grown up in the secret military schools hidden in the asteroid belt. Her teacher was General Yang Tae-won, an old soldier who had fought in the early resistance. Impossible is just another word for untested, General Yang used to say. The aliens think they know what humans can do. They are wrong. Soo-jin learned to fight in the dark spaces between asteroids. She learned to think like her enemy and then do something completely different. The aliens expected humans to follow rules. Soo-jin learned to break rules in ways that won battles. When she was 16, she led her first real mission. A team of young fighters attacked a Vorthan supply ship. They used small fighters built from scrap metal and determination. The mission succeeded, but half her friends died in the attack. She learned that victory always had a price. Today, that lesson felt very important. Dr. Choi Min-ho worked at his scientific station, checking the quantum pulse weapon for the 100th time. He thought about the years of research that led to this moment. The breakthrough came from studying wreckage. Every time a human ship tried to break the blockade and failed, pieces of both human and alien technology scattered in space. Rescue teams would collect the debris, officially to recover bodies. Secretly, they brought everything to Dr. Choi. He spent 15 years analyzing the wreckage. Slowly, he began to understand how the barrier worked. The ancient technology created quantum patterns that locked space itself, but the patterns had to be perfect. If something could disrupt them at just the right frequency, the whole system might collapse. The problem was getting close enough to try. Every previous attempt had been destroyed long before reaching the barrier's core. Lieutenant Han So-young had never seen Earth's sky. She was born on a transport ship moving between Mars and the asteroid belt. Her parents were refugees fleeing a Vorthan work camp. All her life she had studied maps of stars she could not visit. She memorized the positions of planets in systems she would never see. But she also learned to read space in ways that surprised even her teachers. Space was not empty. It had currents and flows, weak spots and strong points. The Vorthans built their barrier in a straight line because that seemed strongest. But So Young could see the stress points where the energy field bent around gravity wells and solar winds. "I think I can find us a path through their patrol routes," she told the captain. "The alien ships move in patterns. They do the same thing every time." Captain Deho listened to his crew report their status. These people were more than just soldiers. They were the children of humanity's dark years. Each of them had grown up in the shadow of alien rule. Deho's own story was more complicated. For 10 years, he had worked as a translator for the Vorthans. He spoke their language and understood their culture. The aliens trusted him because he seemed cooperative, but cooperation had been a mask. Deho used his position to gather intelligence and pass information to the resistance. He learned Vorthan military tactics and technology. He studied their weaknesses. The mask came off the day Vorthan forces attacked New Sol Colony. His younger sister Lee Mi-young lived there with her family. The aliens said the colonists were rebels who needed to be punished. Deho watched from a Vorthan command ship as they bombed the settlement. He saw his sister's home disappear in fire and smoke. That night he stole a Vorthan fighter and escaped to join the resistance. Now he used everything he had learned to fight back. He knew how Vorthan commanders thought. He knew their procedures and their blind spots. Today that knowledge might save humanity. "Captain," Wubin called out, "we are getting some strange readings from the barrier." "What kind of readings?" Deho asked. "The energy levels are not steady. They go up and down in waves. It is like the whole system is breathing." Dr. Choi looked up from his equipment. "That is interesting. The quantum field should be stable. If it is fluctuating, there might be stress in the system. Is that good for us?" Sujin asked. "Maybe," Choi said. "If the field is already under stress, our pulse might have a bigger effect than we calculated." The indomitable spirit moved deeper into the outer sensor grid. Around them, space looked empty, but they knew Vorthan ships were hunting for them. "Picking up patrol ship on long-range sensors," So Young reported. "They are following standard search pattern 7. "I know that pattern," Sujin said. "It has a gap every 12 minutes when they change formation. Can we use it?" Deho asked. "If Wubin can keep the stealth field working for another 20 minutes, yes." Wubin was already diving into the maintenance panel. "I can give you 20 minutes. Maybe 25 if I reroute power from life support." "Do it," Deho ordered. The lights on the bridge dimmed as Wubin shifted power to the stealth system. The air recyclers slowed down, making the air thick and warm. But the stealth field held. Emperor Zulthak sat on his throne aboard the massive ship Eternal Dominion. He was reviewing reports from Admiral Vextar about the human intrusion. The reports were not concerning. One small ship against the entire Vorthan fleet was not a threat. Humans had tried to break the blockade many times. They always failed. Their technology was primitive. Their tactics were predictable. They died easily, but something bothered the Emperor. The human ship had appeared suddenly on their sensors. How had it gotten so close without being detected? Human stealth technology was supposed to be crude and ineffective. "Commander Yex Nara," he called to his military aide. "Send additional ships to support Admiral Vexitar. I want this human vessel captured, not destroyed." "Yes, Your Majesty." "May I ask why?" "I want to know how they got this far. If humans have developed new technology, we need to understand it." Yex Nara bowed and left to carry out the orders. She was the Emperor's best hunter, known for crushing rebellions across the galaxy, but she had never fought humans before. Back on the indomitable Spirit, the crew worked in tense silence. They were deep in enemy territory now, surrounded by ships that could destroy them in seconds if they were discovered. "2 more patrol ships ahead," So Young whispered, even though the aliens could not hear them. "I see them," Sujin replied, adjusting course to avoid their sensor range. The human ship slipped between the alien patrols like a ghost. But ghosts could not stay hidden forever. "Stealth field is failing," Wubin announced. "I can give you maybe 5 more minutes." "How far to the barrier core?" Deho asked. "Still too far," Dr. Choi said. "We need to get much closer." Deho made a decision that would change everything. "Drop the stealth field. All power to engines and weapons. We are going in fast and loud." "Captain, that is suicide," Sujin said. "Maybe," Deho replied. "But hiding will not get us close enough. Sometimes the only way forward is through." The stealth field collapsed. Immediately, alarms started sounding on every Vorthan ship in the area. The real battle was about to begin. The moment the stealth field dropped, space around the indomitable Spirit erupted in chaos. Red warning lights flashed on every Vorthan ship within 100,000 kilometers. Alert sirens wailed across their communication channels. Contact! Contact human vessel at Grid 77 Alpha. The alien voices were sharp with surprise and anger. Lieutenant Han So-young's fingers danced over her navigation controls. She had spent her entire life studying star charts of places she had never been. Now she was flying through that space at speeds that should have been impossible. Incoming missile barrage from 3 ships, she called out. 2 more vessels moving to block our path. Commander Park Soo-jin studied the tactical display. 5 Vorthan ships were closing in from different directions. Their formation was perfect by military standards. It was also exactly what she expected. They are using attack pattern 14, she told Captain Daeho. I have seen this before. Soo-jin remembered General Yang Taiwan's lessons from her youth. The aliens fight like they build their ships, he had said. Everything by the book. Everything predictable. Use that against them. So-young, take us down 15 degrees and increase speed, Soo-jin ordered. When I give the signal, turn hard to port. But that will take us directly toward their flagship. So-young protested. Exactly, Soo-jin said with a cold smile. Admiral Vextar watched the human ship's movement from his command bridge. The small vessel was fast, faster than intelligence reports had suggested, but it was also outnumbered and outgunned. Target their engines, he commanded. I want them disabled, not destroyed. The Emperor wants prisoners. His weapons officer hesitated. Sir, at this range and speed, it would be easier to destroy them completely. You have your orders, Vextar snapped. Humans are clever with technology. If they have improved their ships, we need to know how. The Vorthan missiles streaked through space, their guidance systems locked onto the human vessel. But So-young had been born in space, raised in zero gravity. She could feel the flow of gravitational fields around nearby asteroids and moons. Now, Soo-jin shouted. So-young yanked the controls hard to the left. The indomitable spirit spun around a small asteroid using its gravity to change direction without losing speed. The Vorthan missiles, following straight-line intercept courses, slammed into the asteroid instead. Impossible, Vextar muttered. No pilot could calculate that trajectory so quickly. But So-young was not calculating. She was feeling. Space was her element, and she moved through it like a dancer who had memorized every step. Chief Engineer Kim Woo-bin was fighting his own battle in the engine room. The ship's power systems were a mixture of human and alien technology that should never have worked together. But Woo-bin had learned something important in the mines of Mars. Sometimes the best solutions came from desperation. Engine output at 110%, he reported to the bridge. I am pushing her beyond safe limits. Can she handle it? Daeho asked. She will handle it because she has to, Woo-bin replied. He was manually adjusting power flows, bypassing safety systems that would have shut down the engines. His hands moved with the skill of someone who had spent years making broken things work. Around him, the engine room filled with the smell of overheating metal and burning insulation. Warning lights flashed red, but he ignored them. Today was not a day for playing it safe. 2 more ships coming in from the port side, So-young reported. They are trying to box us in. Soo-jin saw the pattern immediately. The Vorthans were using a standard encirclement maneuver. It was effective against normal enemies who fought by normal rules. But humans had learned to fight differently. Woo-bin, I need everything you can give me for 60 seconds, she called. To the engine room. You will have it, came the reply. The indomitable spirit suddenly accelerated beyond what the Vorthan computers had calculated as possible. Instead of turning away from the 2 approaching ships, the human vessel charged directly between them. What are they doing? Vextar demanded. This is suicide. But Soo-jin was not planning to die. As the human ship passed between the 2 Vorthan vessels, she fired their weapons at both targets simultaneously. The aliens, expecting to catch the humans in crossfire, instead found themselves shooting at each other. One Vorthan ship's shields collapsed under friendly fire. The other took damage to its main engines. In the confusion, the indomitable spirit slipped past their formation. Clever, Vextar admitted grudgingly, but cleverness will not save them. Dr. Choi Min-ho worked frantically at his station, preparing the quantum pulse weapon. The device was based on 15 years of studying alien technology, but it had never been tested in real combat conditions. How much closer do we need to get? Daeho asked. 5,000 kilometers from the main barrier generator, Choi replied. But Captain, I must warn you. At that range, the energy discharge from the barrier will be lethal to our ship. Will the pulse work? In theory, yes. The quantum cascade should create a feedback loop that destabilizes the entire grid. In theory, Daeho repeated. And in practice? Choi was quiet for a moment. In practice, we will probably all die whether it works or not. Captain Daeho understood the odds. He had always understood them. This mission was designed to be one way from the beginning. But sometimes one ship could change the course of history. Sujin, can you get us to the barrier core? She studied her tactical display. 8 Vorthon ships were now converging on their position. More were coming from other patrol areas. In 10 minutes, they would be facing the entire blockade fleet. I can get us there, she said. But we will have to go through them, not around them. Then we go through them, Daeho decided. The indomitable spirit changed course again, this time heading directly for the energy barrier that had imprisoned humanity for 3 centuries. The massive wall of blue energy stretched across space, powered by technology older than human civilization. All ships concentrate fire on the human vessel, Vextar ordered. Stop them before they reach the barrier. The space around the human ship filled with energy beams and missiles. So Young flew through the barrage like she was dancing with death. The ship shook with near misses and sparks flew from damaged control panels. Hull breach on deck 3, Wu Bin reported. Sealing it now. Weapons offline, Sujin called out. The main power coupling is damaged. I can fix it, Wu Bin said, already running toward the weapon systems. Give me 2 minutes. We do not have 2 minutes, So Young said. 3 more Vorthon ships were closing in from ahead. That was when Daeho made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. He opened a communication channel to Admiral Vextar. Admiral, this is Captain Daeho. I want to talk. Vextar's face appeared on the main screen. You want to surrender? No, Daeho said calmly. I want to thank you. Thank me. Vextar was confused. For what? For teaching us how to fight, Daeho replied. 300 years ago, we were just farmers and workers. You made us into warriors. You are still primitive creatures, Vextar said with disgust. This conversation is over. But the conversation had served its purpose. While Vextar was talking, he was not coordinating his ship's attacks. The brief pause gave Wu Bin time to restore their weapons. Weapons back online, the engineer reported. Target the lead ship's command section, Sujin ordered. 1 shot, make it count. The indomitable spirit fired a single, perfectly aimed burst. The energy beam struck the Vorthon ship's bridge, destroying its command center. The ship veered out of control, colliding with another vessel in the formation. 2 ships down, So Young reported, but more are coming. Through the chaos of the battle, the barrier wall grew larger and larger. The blue energy field pulsed with power that could vaporize mountains. Getting close to it was like flying into the heart of a star. 3,000 kilometers from the barrier, Dr. Choi announced. I can feel the energy discharge starting to affect our systems. 2,000 kilometers, he continued. The quantum field is interfering with our computers. 1,000 kilometers. Captain, we need to fire now or we will lose the ability to target the pulse. Captain Daeho looked around his bridge. His crew was battered and exhausted, but they had made it farther than any human ship before them. They were about to either save their species or die trying, Dr. Choi, he said quietly. Fire when ready. Firing quantum pulse in 3, 2, 1. The universe held its breath. The quantum pulse fired from the indomitable spirit, struck the barrier's main generator with the force of a concentrated star. For a moment, nothing happened. The blue energy wall continued to pulse with the same steady rhythm it had maintained for 3 centuries. Then something changed. Dr. Choi Minho watched his instruments with growing excitement. Captain, I am reading quantum fluctuations in the barrier matrix. The pulse is creating resonance patterns throughout the entire grid. Is it working? Captain Daeho asked. I think so, but slowly. The cascade reaction needs time to build. Time was something they did not have. Admiral Vextar's fleet was closing in from all directions. Worse, new contacts were appearing on their sensors. Big contacts, Captain, Lieutenant Han So-young called out. I am reading massive energy signatures approaching from the galactic core. Something very large is coming. Emperor Zulthak had decided to handle the human problem personally. His flagship, the Eternal Dominion, was larger than most space stations. It carried enough firepower to destroy planets and had never been defeated in battle. Beside the Emperor stood Commander Yexnara, his deadliest hunter. She was tall and lean, with silver scars across her face from a dozen successful campaigns. She had crushed rebellions on 40 worlds, but she had never fought humans before. "Your Majesty," she said, studying the tactical display, "the human vessel is small but fast. Their pilot is skilled beyond our expectations." "They are insects," the Emperor replied coldly. "Insects that have lived too long." The Eternal Dominion emerged from hyperspace like a metal moon. Its shadow fell across the battlefield, darkening space around the barrier wall. Hundreds of smaller ships followed in its wake. "By all the gods," Chief Engineer Kim Woo-bin whispered as he saw the massive vessel. "That thing is bigger than our entire fleet." But Woo-bin was not thinking about size. He was thinking about power. Something that big needed enormous engines to move. Engines that might have the same basic principles as the ones he had been working with all his life. "Captain, their flagship has a weakness," he said. "What kind of weakness?" Daeho asked. "Look at the engine configuration. They have 6 main drive units, but only 4 are currently active. They are running at reduced power to save fuel." Commander Park Soo-jin understood immediately. If we could take out one of their active engines, they would lose maneuverability. "But we would have to get close," So-young pointed out. Very close. That was when Admiral Vextar made his mistake. He had been commanding the Blockade for 50 years, and no human had ever gotten this far before. When he saw Captain Daeho on the communication screen, old anger boiled up inside him. "Lee Daeho," Vextar said with hatred in his voice. "I remember you now. You used to translate for us. You were our pet human." Daeho's face remained calm, but Soo-jin could see his hands tighten on his chair. "Those days are over, Admiral. You betrayed our trust," Vextar continued. "You were treated well given privileges, and this is how you repay us?" "I repay you exactly as you deserve," Daeho replied. Soo-jin realized what was happening. Vextar was making this personal instead of tactical. A personal fight meant emotional decisions. Emotional decisions led to mistakes. "Admiral," she said, taking over the communication, "you talk about trust, but where was your trust when you murdered civilians on New Sol Colony?" Vextar's eyes flashed with anger. Those colonists were rebels. They deserved their fate. Children deserved to die, Soo-jin pressed. Families deserved to burn? "Enough," Vextar shouted. "I will destroy your ship personally. All vessels, stand down. This kill belongs to me." It was exactly the mistake Soo-jin had hoped for. Instead of coordinating a massive attack that would overwhelm them instantly, Vextar was ordering his ships to give him a clear shot. Pride was about to become his downfall. "Now we have a chance," she told Daeho quietly. "One ship against one ship." But Vextar's vessel was still much larger and more powerful than theirs. The fight would not be easy. The 2 ships closed in on each other while the massive Imperial fleet watched. It felt like an ancient duel, with honor and death hanging in the balance. "Woo-bin, I need everything the engines can give us," Soo-jin said. "You will have it," the engineer replied. But as he spoke, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. "Captain, we have a problem. The barrier energy is affecting our systems. The closer we get, the worse it becomes," So-young was already feeling the effects. Her navigation computers were giving strange readings. The quantum fields around the barrier were interfering with their electronics. "I can compensate," she said, switching to manual controls. "But if the interference gets much worse, I will be flying blind." Dr. Choi looked up from his instruments with concern. "The quantum pulse is still building, but it is also creating unpredictable energy surges. Our ship might not survive long enough to see if the barrier falls." "How long do we need?" Daeho asked. "At least 10 more minutes for the cascade to reach critical mass." 10 minutes might as well have been 10 hours. Vextar's ship was already firing, and the space around them filled with deadly energy beams. So-young threw the indomitable spirit into a spinning dive, barely avoiding the incoming fire. The ship groaned under the stress, but Woo-bin's modifications held. "Return fire," Soo-jin ordered. Their weapons struck Vextar's shields, but barely made a dent. The alien ship was too well armored for their limited firepower to be effective. "We need a different approach," Daeho realized. "I have an idea," Woo-bin said from the engine room. "But it is crazy." "All our ideas are crazy," Soo-jin replied. "What do you have in mind?" "Remember what I said about their engines? If I can overload our own power systems, I might be able to create an electromagnetic pulse. It would not destroy their ship, but it might disable their engines temporarily. What would happen to our ship?" Daeho asked. Wubin was quiet for a moment. We would lose all power. Life support, weapons, navigation, everything. For how long? If we are lucky, maybe 5 minutes. If we are unlucky, permanently. It was a desperate plan, but they were in a desperate situation. Do it, Daeho ordered. Wubin began rerouting power through their systems in ways they were never designed to handle. Sparks flew from control panels as he pushed their technology beyond all safe limits. EMP in 30 seconds, he announced. Vextar's ship moved in for the killing blow, unaware of what the humans were planning. The Admiral wanted to savor this moment. After 50 years of easy victories, he was going to personally destroy the most troublesome humans who had ever challenged the blockade. 20 seconds, Wubin called out. So Young positioned their ship carefully. They would only get one chance at this. 10 seconds. Vextar opened a communication channel. Any last words, humans? Yes, Daeho replied. You should have brought more ships. More ships? Vextar laughed. I only need one to crush insects like you. 5 seconds, Wubin announced. That is where you are wrong, Daeho said. You need to bring enough ships to kill us all. Because if even one of us survives, we will find a way to bring down your empire. Firing EMP now, the indomitable spirit released all its stored energy in a single massive pulse. The electromagnetic wave struck Vextar's ship like an invisible hammer, overloading its systems and shutting down its engines. Both ships went dark and drifted in space near the barrier wall. Systems offline. So Young reported in the sudden quiet. We are running on emergency power only. How long until Vextar gets his ship working again? Sujin asked. His ship is bigger, so maybe 3 minutes, Wubin said. But I think I can get our engines back online in 2. Through the darkness, they could see the barrier wall pulsing with increasing instability. Dr. Choi's quantum cascade was still building, but would it be enough? Dr. Choi, Daeho called out. How much longer? 5 more minutes, Captain. Just 5 more minutes. But 5 minutes was an eternity when you were floating helpless in space next to an enemy who wanted you dead. In the distance, the Emperor's massive flagship began moving toward them. Zulthak had grown tired of waiting. The final battle was about to begin. Chief Engineer Kim Wubin worked in the dark. Emergency lighting cast red shadows in the engine room as he tried to restart their power systems. His hands moved by feel alone, connecting wires and bypassing damaged circuits. Come on, he whispered to the machinery. Do not give up on me now. Around him, the ship was quiet except for the hum of life support running on backup power. Through the hull, he could feel vibrations from the quantum cascade building in the barrier wall. Dr. Choi's weapon was working, but slowly. Too slowly. On the bridge, Captain Lee Daeho watched the Emperor's flagship approaching. The Eternal Dominion moved through space like a mountain of metal and death. Its weapons could vaporize their ship with a single shot. Distance to the Imperial flagship? He asked. Lieutenant Han So-young checked her instruments. 50,000 kilometers in closing. At current speed, they will be in firing range in 3 minutes. And our engines? Still offline, Commander Park Soo-jin reported. Wubin is working on it. Dr. Choi Min-ho looked up from his scientific station. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. Captain, the quantum cascade is approaching critical mass. But I need to make manual adjustments to keep it stable. What kind of adjustments? Daeho asked. I need to physically enter the quantum chamber and recalibrate the resonance frequency. The radiation exposure will be lethal. The bridge was silent for a moment. Everyone understood what Dr. Choi was saying. He was volunteering to die to complete the mission. Doctor, is there any other way? Soo-jin asked. No, Choi replied simply. The automated systems are too damaged. It has to be done manually. Captain Daeho felt the weight of command pressing down on him. Good people had already died for this mission. Now he had to ask another friend to make the ultimate sacrifice, Doctor, he said quietly. Are you sure the cascade will work? The theory is sound, Choi said. But Captain, even if it works, the barrier collapse will create an energy wave that could destroy our ship. How big a wave? Big enough to be seen from Earth. In the engine room, Wubin finally got the main power coupling reconnected. Lights flickered on throughout the ship as systems came back online. Engines restored, he announced. But I do not know how long they will last. I had to bypass most of the safety systems. It only needs to last a few more minutes, Daeho replied. Admiral Vextar's ship was also coming back to life. His engines restarted with a roar that could be heard through space. The alien commander was furious at being outmaneuvered by humans. "Target their engines," he ordered his weapons officer. "I want them crippled, not destroyed. They will watch as the Emperor's ship finishes them." Energy beams lanced out from Vextar's vessel, but So Young was ready. The moment their engines came online, she threw the indomitable spirit into evasive maneuvers. "Sujin, can you give me a firing solution on Vextar's bridge?" Daeho asked. "His shields are still down from the EMP," she replied. "One good hit should do it." "Then end this." The human ship's weapons fired a concentrated burst directly at Vextar's command center. The energy beam punched through his armor and exploded inside the bridge. Admiral Vextar had just enough time to realize that humans were not the primitive creatures he had believed them to be. Then his ship's bridge disappeared in fire and light. "Vextar's vessel is disabled," Sujin reported. "But the Emperor's ship is still closing." Dr. Choi was already moving toward the quantum chamber. "I am going to make the manual adjustments now. Once I enter the chamber, seal it behind me. The radiation will be contained until the cascade reaches critical mass." "Doctor, wait," Daeho called out. Choi turned back to face his captain. "Yes?" "Thank you," the old scientist smiled. "Captain, it has been an honor to serve with you. Tell my wife on Mars that I was thinking of her at the end." Dr. Choi entered the quantum chamber and sealed the door behind him. Through the thick window, they could see him working at the manual controls, adjusting frequencies and power levels with his bare hands. "Quantum cascade approaching critical mass," his voice came through the communication system. "The barrier should begin to fail in 60 seconds. Emperor Zulthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small human ship through the forward windows. He could not believe that such a tiny vessel had caused so much trouble. "Commander Yexnara," he said to his aide. "Destroy them." "Yes, Your Majesty," she replied. But as her finger moved toward the firing control, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. "What is happening?" the Emperor demanded. "The barrier, Your Majesty," a technician called out. "Something is wrong with the barrier." Through the windows, they could see the blue energy wall beginning to flicker. Cracks of white light appeared in the quantum field, spreading like breaks in glass. "Impossible," Zulthak whispered. "The eternal blockade cannot fail." But it was failing. 3 centuries of containment technology was collapsing as Dr. Choi's quantum cascade reached critical mass. Inside the quantum chamber, Dr. Choi felt the radiation burning through his body. His hands were shaking as he made the final adjustments, but his mind remained clear. "Freedom is not given," he said into his communicator. "It is taken." He pressed the final control, and the quantum cascade exploded outward from the barrier's core. The energy wave struck the indomitable spirit like a giant hand, throwing the ship away from the collapsing barrier. Hull plates buckled and systems overloaded, but Wubin's engineering held the ship together. "Hull integrity at 60%, So Young reported through gritted teeth. "But we are alive." The same wave struck the Emperor's flagship with even greater force. The massive ship was too close to the barrier when it collapsed. Its shields flared and failed as quantum energy washed over the hull. "Retreat," Zulthak ordered. "All ships retreat to safe distance." But it was too late. The barrier collapse created a chain reaction that spread along the entire containment grid. For the first time in 300 years, the wall that surrounded Earth's solar system was breaking apart. Captain Daeho watched in amazement as sections of the blue energy field flickered and died. Gaps appeared in the blockade, growing larger by the minute. "Sujin, can you plot a course through those gaps?" he asked. "Already done," she replied. "So Young, take us home." The indomitable spirit limped toward the largest breach in the failing barrier. Behind them, Vorthan ships fled in confusion as their ancient technology collapsed around them. Lieutenant Han So Young felt tears on her face as they passed through the gap. For the first time in her life, she was looking at stars that were not behind a prison wall. "We are through," she announced. "We are in free space." The crew was quiet for a moment, absorbing what they had accomplished. Then Wubin's voice came from the engine room. "Captain, I am picking up signals from the inner system. Ships are launching from Earth, Mars, and the asteroid colonies." "How many ships?" Daeho asked. "All of them," Wubin replied with wonder. "Every ship humanity has ever built is heading for the gap." On Earth, people stood in the streets looking up at the sky. For 3 centuries, they had been prisoners in their own solar system. Now the cage was broken, and they were free to explore the galaxy again. Admiral Vexitar, badly injured but still alive, watched from his damaged ship as human vessels poured through the breach. He had underestimated them completely. They were not primitive creatures after all. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors who refused to give up. Commander Yexnara helped Emperor Zulthak from his throne, as damage reports flooded in from across the fleet. The humans had done more than break the blockade. They had shown the entire galaxy that the mighty Vorthan Empire could be defeated. "Your Majesty," she said quietly, "what are your orders?" Zulthak looked at the expanding breach in his ancient barrier. He could see human ships streaming through it like insects from a broken hive. Soon they would spread across the galaxy carrying their dangerous ideas of freedom and rebellion. "Send word to all our forces," he said finally. "The humans are loose. Prepare for war." But Captain Lee Dae-ho was not thinking about the war to come. He was thinking about Dr. Choi Min-ho, who had given his life to free his people. He was thinking about all the humans who had died in the mines and camps dreaming of this day. "Captain," So-young said softly, "where do we go now?" Dae-ho looked out at the stars that humanity had not seen for 300 years. There were billions of them, each one representing possibilities and worlds that were now within reach. "Anywhere we want," he said. "That is what freedom means." The indomitable spirit sailed into the open galaxy, carrying news of humanity's escape. Behind them, the eternal blockade continued to crumble, its blue fire fading into darkness. On planets across the galaxy, other enslaved species looked up at their own prisons and wondered if they too could break free. The humans had shown them something important. No cage was truly eternal if the prisoners refused to accept it. General Yang Tai-wan, Su-jin's old mentor, led the first human fleet through the breach. His ships carried soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They were heading for Vorthan space, bringing a message the Empire would understand humanity was no longer content to be prisoners. They were coming to tear down every cage in the galaxy. The war for freedom had begun, and it would not end until every thinking being in the universe was free to choose their own destiny. In the depths of space, the last